Loki is the third Marvel show to come to Disney Plus. It has just wrapped up its very first season, so I'm here to give my spoiler-filled thoughts on each episode of the show. Yes, spoiler-filled, so if you haven't seen the show yet, that's your warning. So let's kick it off with episode 1, entitled Glorious Purpose. After stealing the Tesseract in Avengers Endgame, Loki is picked up by the Time Variance Authority, or TVA for short. Assigned with capturing those who veer off the path of the sacred timeline, also known as a variance, one TVA agent, Mobius, played by Owen Wilson, believes that Loki would be a great enlistment in hunting down another Loki variant who has been killing off TVA agents. This episode I thought was a great introduction into this pocket, this area of the world that we have not seen within the MCU. The TVA is led by ancient creatures known as the Timekeepers, who stopped an all-out multiversal war between other timelines by creating this sacred timeline that our MCU characters that we know and love up until this point have been existing in. Diving into the concept of multiverses like the MCU has never done before, this episode introduced a lot of great new concepts, ideas, and conversations between Owen Wilson's Mobius and Tom Hiddleston's Loki. And although it did feel like at times this episode was just a clip show of Loki's greatest moments from the Marvel movies, they justify this by having it shatter this Loki's perception of life and the role that he has played within it up until this point, growing his character in both familiar and unfamiliar ways than we have seen him grow up until his death at the hands of Thanos. I did feel like the premise of the TVA was a bit confusing at times, and I do feel like if you think hard enough about it, the whole idea just kind of crumbles and falls apart. And some of the answers they give to pretty reasonable questions, I do feel like were lazily written off. They just explain it like this.
We're not here to talk about the Avengers. What they did was supposed to happen.
But even with all that said, episode 1, Glorious Purpose, was a really great, brilliant introduction to this new version of Loki, the new characters, new dynamics, and this new world that set up a pretty compelling mystery that would later be explored in episode 2, The Variant. Working on the field under Mobius' supervision, Loki assists the TVA agents in capturing their problematic Loki variant. After learning about the idea of Nexus events, the action caused by a variant going against what the sacred timeline dictates to create a new branch of reality, which the TVA are in charge of stopping before it's too late, Loki discovers that the variant has been hiding out in apocalyptic events, where their actions have no effect or meaning. This second episode of Loki only helped to build upon the intriguing aspects that the pilot had set up. This is where the real charming aspect of the show with Loki and Mobius' relationship is at its peak. With Owen Wilson and Tom Hiddleston working excellently off of each other's chemistry, a lot of this episode is spent with just the two of them talking, battling each other's beliefs and theories, and it is some of the best written conversations within any of the Marvel shows thus far. On top of that, this episode dove further into the world of the TVA, how it works, operates, and dug a little bit deeper into the mysterious leaders behind it. While the idea of a variant hiding out in apocalypses to avoid causing a Nexus event, as to not draw attention to the TVA, feels a little bit flawed.
I could go down to Asgard before Ragnarok causes its complete destruction. I could push the Hulk off the Rainbow Bridge, and it would never matter. It wouldn't go against the dictates of the timeline. Surtur will destroy Asgard no matter what I do.
Yeah, but what if doing so causes Hulk not to get off the planet, which results in him not being able to snap everyone back into existence? Wouldn't that cause a branch in the timeline? We also get one of the very first action sequences in this show, with Loki battling the variant in an electronics store in the year 2050, where it's revealed that the Loki variant is a woman. During her escape, Loki follows her and the two end up on episode 3, Lamentus. Stranded on a planet destined to die with no more juice in their TVA time-traveling device, Loki and the variant, now named Sylvie, played by Sophie Di Martino, travels around the planet as they look for a way to charge their time-traveling iPad and talk about love and relationships throughout the process. Quite easily the weakest episode of the 3 and of the series as a whole up until this point. There wasn't really that much within this episode that kept me intrigued or interested throughout the episode's 40-minute runtime. The dynamic and chemistry between Loki and Sylvie is still pretty decent, but it's nowhere near as intriguing as the relationship between Loki and Mobius, who is absent throughout this entire episode, and the hole that he leaves is felt throughout the entire episode. And while we do learn some essential things within this episode, like how Sylvie's able to enchant people and enter people's memories, which is how we also learn that all of the agents in the TVA are variants themselves, in a way that's very anticlimactic, I might add.
I was told that everyone who works at the TVA was created by the Timekeepers.
That's ridiculous. They're all variants, just like us.
This episode just felt like a poorly forced way to infuse a relationship on Loki and Sylvie, which, while I do admit gets better throughout the show later on, is just awkward and feels unnecessary here in this episode. But it's a good thing that they do develop feelings for themselves, because if Loki wasn't planning on getting with himself, herself, themselves, Whatever. The thought alone in Loki's mind is enough to cause a Nexus event, and Mobius is able to pick up Loki and Sylvie before the planet is destroyed and bring them back to the TVA for Episode 4, the Nexus event. Loki and Sylvie are apprehended by the TVA and brought in for questioning. Convinced Loki has been working with Sylvie all along, Mobius traps Loki in a prison of his own mind, where we get a cameo from Sif from the first 2 Thor movies, who is brought in to do this. Over. And over. And over again. And when Mobius learns the truth of a TVA agent by watching security footage of an agent that was affected by Sylvie's abilities admitting to having another life, he frees Loki from his imprisonment. The reunion is short-lived though, when Ravonna, played by Guga Batha Raw, I am so sorry if I got that name wrong, finds the two together and prunes Mobius, erasing him from reality. Apprehended once again, Loki and Sylvie are taken in front of the Timekeepers, where after a battle breaks out, it's discovered that the Timekeepers are fakes, androids of some kind. Distracted, Loki is pruned and killed by Ravonna, leaving Sylvie left alone in the TVA. This is where the series really started to shift the light on the TVA and started showing them in their more devious and evil ways. With a haunting flashback of Sylvie being picked up as a child by the TVA for playing with the wrong dolls? I don't know, they don't explain it. This episode also furthered the mystery of the TVA, revealing that the Timekeepers are not the ones who created the TVA and the Sacred Timeline, and that there's a bigger threat at hand. After the lull that was episode 3, I found that episode 4 helped get the momentum back on track as we head on into episode 5, Journey into Mystery. As it turned out, Loki didn't die, but was sent into a realm with sighting of numerous other variant Lokis, including an alligator Loki, a Loki who killed Thor, a Loki who escaped Thanos, and a Loki who killed Iron Man and Captain America. They're trapped in a land guarded by a devouring monster named Alioth. Later joined by Sylvie, who prunes herself to escape Ravonna, a recently pruned himself Mobius, Loki believes that whoever it is created the TVA must be beyond Alioth. With help from other Lokis, they are able to defeat Alioth, and Loki and Sylvie embark on a journey to the castle beyond time as Mobius heads back to take care of things at the TVA. The episode just before the finale, this episode helped to visualize the multiverse in a more tangible way, introducing us and showing us all these different variants of Lokis. Each iteration of Loki that our Loki comes across is a fascinating new version to encounter with compelling backstories to them, putting the fire back into Loki more than ever that no one controls his destiny and that he can be whoever he wants to be. This episode worked to further explore one of the core themes of the show about free will. The land of Lokis, known as the Void, is vastly interesting to look at with Easter eggs almost around every corner, furthering the development of Loki's journey from God of Mischief, destined to rule, to being the good guy, as well as developing the relationship between Loki and Sylvie. This episode is once again filled with compelling conversations and ideologies between characters, and is a brilliant lead into the finale, episode 6, For All Time, Always. Now at the end of time, Loki and Sylvie arrive at the castle of the man behind the TVA, known as He Who Remains, played by Jonathan Majors. He explains that as a 31st century scientist, he discovered the reality of multiple universes. Once other variants of himself discovered the same thing, they met up, and for a while there was peace. But it only took one variant of himself to want to rule over every universe before there was an all-out multiversal war. Using Alioth as a shield, he isolated their reality into the sacred timeline and created the TVA to prevent another multiversal war from occurring. So basically everything that we learned in episode 1 was true, minus the Timekeepers. With this information, He Who Remains gives Loki and Sylvie an ultimatum: kill him and bring on an infinite amount of evil variances of himself to attack their reality, or Loki and Sylvie can take his place and rule over the TVA themselves. A convinced Loki and an unconvinced Sylvie fight as Loki tries to prevent Sylvie from killing He Who Remains. After a betrayal by Sylvie, Loki is tossed back into the TVA as Sylvie plunges her sword into He Who Remains, killing him with his chilling last words.
See you soon.
Outside, we see an infinite of new timelines branching off the sacred timeline past the point of no return, and back at the TVA headquarters, we see a heartbroken Loki is confronted by a Mobius who has no idea who he is, as it is revealed that Loki is in a new reality, and a statue of the Timekeepers has been replaced with a single statue of He Who Remains as season 1 of Loki comes to an end. For myself, this goes without saying that this was the best finale of all 3 of the Marvel Disney Plus shows thus far. Jonathan Majors steals this episode, giving one of the most compelling and interesting performances, and conversations in, dare I say it, the entire MCU up until this point. The ramifications of this episode changes the MCU forever. With Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness and Jonathan Majors being confirmed to be cast in Ant-Man and the Wasp: Quantumania, this next phase of the Marvel Cinematic Universe is looking to be a balls-to-the-wall, crazy adventure I'm really looking forward to going on. Guys, honestly, Loki was the Disney Plus Marvel show that I was looking forward to the least out of the bunch. It was bringing back a character who was already dead that I wanted to stay dead. I wasn't interested in seeing yet another version of Loki. But color me shocked if this wasn't my favorite of the first bunch of Marvel shows out of WandaVision and Falcon and the Winter Soldier. It brought back that fire that WandaVision gave me of just anticipating each and every episode every week and just waiting for them to come out. It brought back another mystery aspect to the show where I wanted to see where the mystery was going to go. But unlike WandaVision, I find Loki to be a lot more rewatchable than the episodes of WandaVision are. The performances across the board were all great, with Tom Hiddleston giving my favorite performance as Loki since the first Avengers movie. Owen Wilson is a show stealer for me. He was almost unrecognizable as the character of Mobius, and the likability that he brought to this character made him an instant favorite of mine. The scenes with him and Loki are some of the highlights of the show. As I mentioned, the two had fantastic chemistry and worked so well off of each other. The organization of the TVA was vastly entertaining, and I'm really looking forward to exploring it even further when the now confirmed Season 2 comes out. While the show could feel kind of slow at times, and with only 6 episodes, I do wish some ideas and concepts were explored a little bit more and were a little bit more fleshed out. But in the end, I found this to be such a brilliant show by Marvel and was directed with such nuance by Kate Herron. I can't wait to see where the events of this show take the Marvel Cinematic Universe going forward. And despite my doubts going in, I really had a blast and I loved Loki. What did you guys think of Loki? Are you anticipating Season 2? Comment down below. I want to know all your thoughts and opinions about this show. As always, guys, thank you so much for clicking on this video and checking out my channel. If you like all things movies, TV, streaming, and entertainment, why don't you go on and click that subscribe button, click that like button, click that notification bell, all that YouTube stuff. And I hope to see you guys again real soon.